SMT Nation, we are back. Nation, in this video, I'd like to discuss this topic with you all, and that is AT&T's position within the industry. For the longest time, AT&T was carrier number 2, right? It was Verizon was number 1, and AT&T number 2 in terms of size of companies, right? The number of customers that they have, the number of subscribers they have. Now, if you go to Wikipedia and you look at the largest American wireless providers page, you'll see that Verizon comes in at number 1 with over 144, almost 145 million subscribers. What they consider to be a subscriber is any type of active SIM card. T-Mobile now at 127.5 million, AT&T at 116 million, and then of course Boost and Afterthought with like about 7 or 8 million subscribers, and that number is decreasing, or has been historically. It's quite possible things are starting to get better there. We're not sure. We'll see. U.S. Cellular is an acquisition target by all these companies, T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T. They're trying to get out of the industry. So all those things considered, what's changed in the last few years has been T-Mobile becoming the number 2 player and then AT&T falling back to 3. Now, the way that this happened was not under normal circumstances. The reason it happened is because of the T-Mobile and Sprint merger. When you're a company like T-Mobile, who added a lot of customers over the course of the decade, between 2011 and 2020, doing that with the Un-carrier moves and all those things and kind of shaking up the industry in that respect, they garnered a lot of attention from customers and people that wanted to switch away from Verizon and T-Mobile. The issue was always the network, right? A smaller network was a negotiation you'd have to make if you accepted the terms of the T-Mobile service. But then the merger happened, and you basically took like 40 million subscribers from Sprint and just put them on to your company. So that's a huge jump in the line, right? So they basically push right to the front there. They end up passing AT&T recently over the course of the last couple years. Now AT&T is the 3rd player. Now AT&T, for what it's worth, they seem to be doing some pretty good things in the industry, at least according to subscriber gains. We've seen very, very strong growth years from AT&T since 2020. They offer the best in industry promotions from a consistency standpoint, kind of an innovative move, giving new customers and existing customers the same deals. And that's been really popular with customers. And they've been gaining, 3, 4, 5, 600,000 net adds every quarter for the last several years. T-Mobile continues to be the growth leader, offering the 3rd line free and all of those types of things. Verizon kind of stuck, right? We don't really see their subscriber number growing. In fact, in some metrics, you'll see that it's declining, such as number of accounts. Now that big cable is involved, we see Verizon postpaid subs, kind of stuck in the mud. Some quarters they lose, some quarters they gain, but we really haven't seen much growth from Verizon. Now, does it really matter at the end of the day? That's a totally different argument. But just looking at the sheer size, what has happened? Well, it's just the merger. That's what really leapfrogged, T-Mobile way ahead of AT&T. And I'm sure AT&T is not happy about this, and that's good. They can get angry. They can get frustrated. This can allow them to focus more in their business. They were very, very distracted and made huge mistakes with DirecTV and Warner Media, and they have since refocused their efforts on wireless and fiber. So whatever the case may be, that's kind of the way things have played out. And does this mean that T-Mobile's a better network than AT&T, or better in any way? Not necessarily. They might be for some people, and obviously people are going to use what's best for them and gives them the best deals and all those things. But for sure, AT&T has a larger, more available, and generally more reliable network than T-Mobile. AT&T tower sites typically have backup power. They're a first responder network with FirstNet. They have more cell tower sites. Their coverage in rural is better and more available. It's a lot of those things. So I'm not saying that the reason why T-Mobile's the number 2 provider in size is because they have a better network than AT&T. That's likely not the case. In some metro areas and some cities, it might be, and that's quite possible. But from a general standpoint, the AT&T network is larger, more available, and all of those things. But this is just a sheer acquisition thing, right? So before, everybody was talking about, oh, T-Mobile's going to pass AT&T, and that's a big deal. Well, not really. The thing is like T-Mobile got to acquire an entire fourth carrier in the country. Like, that doesn't typically happen every day, right? And then now T-Mobile's going to acquire U.S. Cellular customers, and who knows what ends up happening with Boost Mobile and all of that stuff. There'll be some more customers likely moving in some kind of a transaction or a deal eventually. But that's kind of what happened. That's kind of where it's at. And, like I said, if you're just counting subs, I don't think there's anything wrong that AT&T did. But it was mostly the fact that just T-Mobile acquired Sprint. I mean, if they never acquired Sprint would probably still have somewhere around 35 or 40 million customers. They wouldn't be at T-Mobile. And, but maybe the competitive landscape would be different, right? Maybe AT&T wouldn't be so laser focused and realigned in their philosophy on wireless and wireline connectivity, right? So kind of interesting. And you guys can kind of comment here. I think it kind of makes sense, right? T-Mobile does seem to fit the bill for a lot of people. They enjoy the service and the customer care that they receive and how much they pay. AT&T offers some discounts too, and they've got the best phone promotions. They've been growing. I guess just, T-Mobile, the fierce competitor in mergers, acquisitions, and free lines and, deals for customers that people can appreciate. What do you guys think, though? When do you think there's going to be movement in the next few years? Does AT&T get back to number 2? Does T-Mobile overtake Verizon for number 1? If you think so, when do you think these things will happen? I'm interested to see what you guys have to say on this. And what do you think the fate of Boost Mobile is? Like, ultimately, what happens to those customers? Let me know. Sound off in the comment section below. You are the voice of the people, the SMT Nation. Let your voice be heard.